Beth Carver steps through the cathedral doors wearing Lucas Grant's secret will like armor. The mourners turn toward her scarred face with gasps that echo off marble walls. She survived his attempt to drown her 30 years ago, and now she holds the paper that proves his coffin is empty. The funeral director's hands shake as he recognizes her. Footsteps approach from the altar. Before we begin, tell me where you're listening from, and tap subscribe so you never miss a story.
Beth walks down the center aisle as whispers ripple through the packed cathedral like wildfire. Her heels click against stone floors while 500 guests stare at the woman they thought was dead decades ago. She clutches the will against her chest like a shield forged from pure determination and 30 years of planning. "That's impossible," someone whispers behind her with trembling voice. "She died in the lake," another voice hisses through clenched teeth. "Lucas said she drowned during that terrible storm. How can she be standing here alive?" The organ music stops abruptly, leaving only the sound of shocked breathing and rustling fabric. Sunlight streams through stained glass windows, casting rainbow patterns across the hundreds of shocked faces. Beth feels the rough texture of the legal document between her scarred fingers, each page representing years of careful investigation. She reaches the front pew and stands perfectly still, letting the weight of her presence sink into every corner of the sacred space. The funeral director approaches with trembling hands and a face white as his starched collar, his polished shoes squeaking against the marble floor. The crowd's murmurs grow louder with each passing second, creating a symphony of disbelief and growing panic. "Ma'am, there must be some terrible mistake here," he stammers while wringing his hands. "No mistake," Beth replies, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "But you're supposed to be dead." That's exactly what he wanted everyone to believe. The insurance company paid out $2 million. Money he collected after pushing me off our yacht. 30 years ago, Lucas pushed her off their yacht during a violent storm, then collected $2 million in life insurance while she fought for her life in freezing water. The memory burns fresh as yesterday's wound, every detail carved into her mind with surgical precision. She remembers the taste of salt water filling her lungs and the sound of his laughter echoing across the waves. Now she's here to expose his final lie and bring his house of cards crashing down. Beth unfolds the will with deliberate precision, each page representing years of careful investigation. Lucas's business partner David Sterling rises from the front row, his expensive Italian suit wrinkled from stress and sleepless nights. His face shows the exhaustion of a man who's been managing a crisis for weeks, trying to hold together an empire built on lies. The cathedral's high ceiling amplifies every whispered conversation, creating an echo chamber of shock and growing understanding. "Beth, we need to talk privately about this situation," David says carefully, his voice barely steady. "Everything I have to say can be said right here. The company has 24 hours until the federal auction begins. I know exactly what Lucas planned for his grand escape. Thousands of employees will lose everything they've worked for. That's what happens when you trust a criminal." The crowd leans forward to catch every word, their faces a mixture of curiosity and dawning horror. Candlelight flickers across hundreds of curious faces, creating dancing shadows on the cathedral walls. Beth feels the weight of their attention pressing against her shoulders like a physical force. The air grows thick with tension and the lingering scent of expensive perfume mixed with fear. She raises the will above her head for everyone to see, its official seal catching the light. Federal prosecutor Janet Mills enters through the side door with 2 agents flanking her like silent guardians of justice. Her sharp gray suit and determined expression silence the remaining whispers, commanding instant respect and attention. She's been hunting Lucas Grant for financial fraud for 3 years, and his convenient death stopped her investigation cold just when she was closing in. "Mrs. Grant, "We've been looking for you everywhere," Mills announces with authority. "I've been waiting for the right moment to surface. That coffin contains evidence of the largest fraud in state history. Then you'll want to see this will very carefully. How long have you known he was alive?" "Long enough to prepare for this exact moment." The afternoon sun shifts behind clouds, darkening the cathedral's interior and casting long shadows across the ornate floor. Beth smells the heavy scent of funeral flowers mixed with fear-induced sweat from the nervous crowd. Her fingers trace the raised seal on the legal document, feeling the power it represents. Mills walks slowly toward the altar, her footsteps echoing like a countdown to judgment, each step bringing Lucas closer to his reckoning.
Lucas Grant steps out from behind the massive organ pipes, very much alive and wearing a janitor's faded gray uniform. His once perfect silver hair is dyed brown, and his manicured hands show calluses from months of manual labor. The congregation erupts in screams and shouts of disbelief, their voices bouncing off the vaulted ceiling like thunder. "Hello, Beth," he says with his familiar cold smile that never reached his eyes. "You always were good at dramatic timing and grand gestures. Did you really think I'd stay hidden forever in some hole? I counted on your arrogance bringing you back into the light. You look older, but those scars are still beautiful. They remind me every day of what you tried to do." The cathedral explodes into chaos as people jump to their feet, some rushing toward exits, while others push forward for a better view. Beth's heart pounds against her ribs like a trapped bird, but she keeps her expression calm and controlled. The will crinkles slightly in her grip, its pages containing the power to destroy everything Lucas has built. Lucas moves closer with predatory grace, his eyes never leaving her face, studying every line and scar like a map of his past crimes. Mills draws her weapon and points it at Lucas, while her agents push through the panicking crowd, their badges glinting in the cathedral light. David Sterling collapses back into his pew, his face buried in his hands as his world crumbles around him. The fake funeral has become a real crime scene in seconds, transforming from a ceremony of mourning into a theater of justice. "Lucas Grant, you're under arrest for multiple federal crimes," Mills shouts over the noise. "For what? Attending my own funeral service? Fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, and attempted murder. You'll never prove the murder charge in court. I have 30 years of evidence against you. Evidence gathered by a dead woman means nothing." Beth steps between them with steady resolve, the will still clutched against her chest like armor forged from years of pain. The ancient stones of the cathedral seem to vibrate with tension, absorbing decades of prayers and now witnessing this moment of reckoning. She can smell Lucas's cheap aftershave, so different from the expensive cologne he once wore when he was king of his financial empire. Mills keeps her gun trained on his chest while backup officers pour through the entrance. The crowd pushes toward the exits as Lucas laughs at the chaos he's created, his voice carrying the same cruel tone Beth remembers from that terrible night on the yacht. She notices his hands are shaking despite his confident words, betraying the fear he's trying so hard to hide. The sound of sirens grows louder outside as more law enforcement arrives on the scene. "Beth, you could have taken the insurance money and disappeared forever. I spent 30 years planning this exact moment of confrontation. The will you're holding is completely worthless, my dear. This will names me as sole executor of your entire estate. You can't execute a dead man's wishes. But you're not dead, are you, Lucas?" Church bells begin tolling in the distance, marking the hour with their ancient bronze voices. Beth feels the smooth paper between her fingers and remembers every word printed on its official pages. Lucas's smile falters as he realizes what she's holding and the power it represents. The document contains clauses he never bothered to read, hidden tracks she spent years crafting with the help of brilliant lawyers. Mills motions for her agents to surround him completely, cutting off every possible escape route. A young reporter pushes through the crowd with a camera crew, live streaming the confrontation to thousands of viewers around the world. Lucas spots the camera, and his expression changes from arrogance to panic as he realizes his fake death is crumbling in real time, as his fake death has become his very real downfall, broadcast live for everyone to witness. "Turn that camera off right now," he demands, lunging toward the reporter. "The whole world deserves to see this moment of justice. Beth, we can make a deal that benefits everyone. I'm done making deals with murderers and thieves. Think about all the innocent people who'll suffer. You should have thought about them before you stole their money." The camera's red recording light glows like an angry eye, capturing every moment of Lucas's humiliation for posterity. Beth smells the dust stirred up by hundreds of fleeing feet and the lingering incense from morning mass. Her scarred hands hold steady as Lucas realizes his fake death has become his real downfall, his empire of lies collapsing like a house of cards. The agents close in from 3 sides, blocking every escape route while the camera rolls on.
Mills orders her agents to clear the cathedral while keeping Lucas in secure custody, transforming the sacred space into a crime scene. Beth remains calm in the center of the storm, holding the will like a weapon forged from years of patient planning and careful legal maneuvering. The empty coffin sits forgotten as the real drama unfolds around it, its expensive wood and brass fittings now meaningless props. "That document gives me control of everything he owns," Beth explains to Mills. "How did you get Lucas to sign his own death warrant?" He never bothered to read the fine print carefully. "What does it actually say in those clauses?" "It gives me power to cooperate with the authorities or destroy everything." "Including the assets needed to repay his victims?" The camera crew captures every word while Lucas struggles against the handcuffs, his face red with rage and humiliation. Afternoon light filters through the stained glass, painting everything in shades of judgment and divine retribution. Beth can feel 30 years of planning coming together like pieces of an intricate puzzle. She unfolds the will to reveal its hidden clauses, each one a carefully laid trap waiting to spring. David Sterling approaches Beth with desperate eyes and trembling hands, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cathedral's cool air. His entire career depends on salvaging what's left of Grant Industries, and the federal auction will destroy thousands of jobs if it proceeds as scheduled. He spent sleepless nights trying to find a solution that doesn't exist. "Beth, the employees don't deserve to lose everything they've worked for. They trusted a criminal with their futures and retirement funds. Most of them had no idea what Lucas was doing. That's exactly what he counted on for his schemes. Secretaries and janitors will lose their homes. Lucas stole from widows and orphans, too." The cathedral empties except for law enforcement and witnesses, their footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. Beth hears her own heartbeat in the silence, steady and strong after 30 years of preparation. She smells the lingering incense mixed with fear and desperation, creating an atmosphere thick with tension. Sterling wipes sweat from his forehead with a silk handkerchief, his hands shaking as he realizes the scope of the disaster. Mills studies the will carefully. Her trained prosecutor's eyes catch details that others miss in their panic. The document contains clauses that could either save or destroy what remains of Lucas's sprawling financial empire. Her expression grows more serious with each paragraph she reads, understanding the true scope of Beth's planning and preparation. "This gives you the power to cooperate with our investigation fully. Or I could invoke the complete destruction clause instead."
What happens if you choose the destruction option? Every asset gets liquidated within 72 hours maximum. That would hurt innocent people more than Lucas. Sometimes justice requires difficult choices and sacrifices. Lucas stops struggling and stares at Beth with newfound respect and terror, finally understanding the trap she's constructed around him. The camera continues rolling, broadcasting his humiliation worldwide as his reputation crumbles in real time. Beth feels the weight of hundreds of innocent jobs in her hands, lives that hang in the balance of her decision. The late afternoon sun casts long shadows across the marble floor, creating patterns that seem to point toward judgment. Beth announces her decision to the remaining witnesses, her voice carrying clearly through the vaulted space like a bell of justice. She's spent 30 years planning this moment, gathering evidence and building her case with the patience of a master chess player. Now she holds the power to reshape everything Lucas built on lies and stolen lives. "I'm invoking the cooperation clause," she declares firmly, her voice unwavering. "That means full disclosure of all hidden assets worldwide. The employees keep their jobs and pension funds intact. Lucas faces justice for everything he's done to innocent people. What about the victims who lost their life savings? They'll be compensated from his hidden offshore accounts." Mills nods approvingly while Lucas's face crumbles in complete defeat, his mask of arrogance finally slipping away. The camera captures his transformation from predator to prisoner, from powerful CEO to broken criminal in handcuffs. Beth feels victory mixed with the fading scent of funeral flowers, sweet and bitter at the same time. She hands the will to Mills with steady, scarred fingers that have waited 30 years for this moment of triumph.
Remember when we were happy, Beth? Before everything changed? Before you tried to murder me for insurance money? That was just business, nothing personal against you. Drowning your wife is extremely personal, Lucas. I gave you a beautiful life for 15 years. You gave me scars that remind me daily of your betrayal. The camera zooms in on Beth's scars, visible proof of Lucas's cruelty and her miraculous survival. She touches the raised marks on her neck unconsciously, feeling the texture of healed tissue. The cathedral's silence amplifies every word spoken, creating an intimate theater for this final confrontation. Mills watches the exchange with professional interest, gathering evidence for the trial that will put Lucas away forever. Sterling reveals that Lucas has one more hidden asset that could change everything for the victims and employees. A secret account in the Cayman Islands contains enough money to pay back every investor and save the company from total collapse. But accessing it requires both Lucas's cooperation and Beth's signature as the legal executor of his estate. The account has $50 million in cash, Sterling admits quietly. Without those funds, everyone loses their retirement savings, including the janitors and security guards who trusted him. He planned to access it after his fake death, using forged documents and a new identity. Beth feels the weight of innocent life pressing down on her shoulders like a mountain of responsibility. The camera captures her internal struggle between justice and mercy, between revenge and redemption. She can smell the reporter's nervous sweat as he waits for her response to this revelation. Lucas watches her face hopefully, searching for weakness he can exploit even from his position of complete defeat. Mills receives an urgent call that changes the entire situation and raises the stakes even higher. Federal agents have discovered that Lucas's fraud extends far beyond what they originally suspected when they began their investigation. The scope includes pension funds from 3 states and charitable donations meant for disaster relief efforts worldwide. "The damage is much worse than we initially thought," Mills announces grimly.
How much worse are we talking about here? Beth asks. $200 million in stolen funds from various sources. Some elderly victims lost everything they had saved. Children's hospitals lost donations meant for cancer treatment. He stole from disaster relief funds after hurricanes. The cathedral's ancient stones seemed to absorb the weight of this devastating revelation. Beth realizes that mercy toward Lucas means continued suffering for thousands of innocent people who trusted him. She hears the distant sound of traffic, life continuing outside while so many lives hang in the balance. Sterling's face goes pale as he grasps the full scope of Lucas's crimes and their far-reaching consequences. With only 3 hours before the federal auction begins, Lucas makes his final desperate offer. He claims he'll reveal the location of all hidden assets if Beth agrees to visit him in prison once per month for the rest of his natural life. His obsession with controlling her remains unbroken even in defeat, his need for power manifesting in this twisted request. "I'll give back everything I stole from everyone," he promises desperately. "In exchange for what exactly, Lucas? 1 hour with you every month for life, so you can keep tormenting me from prison. I just want to see your beautiful face regularly. You want to maintain control over me forever." The camera captures Beth's disgust at his proposal, her face showing the revulsion she feels. She smells the fear radiating from everyone in the cathedral as the deadline approaches relentlessly. Mills checks her watch and frowns at the ticking clock, knowing that time is running out. Beth realizes this is Lucas's final attempt to maintain power over her, even from behind bars, his last desperate grasp at controlling her life.
Beth walks to the empty coffin and places her hand on its polished surface, feeling the smooth wood beneath her palm. She's carried the weight of Lucas's attempted murder for 30 years, and now she has the power to end his reign of terror forever. The camera follows her every movement as she stands beside the symbol of his fake death and very real crimes. "I have a counteroffer for you, Lucas," she announces to the hushed cathedral. Lucas reveals everything with absolutely no conditions attached. He serves his full sentence without possibility of parole, and he never contacts me or anyone in my family again. He also cooperates fully with victim compensation efforts. All hidden assets go directly to repaying the people he robbed. Lucas starts to protest angrily, but Mills silences him with a sharp look that could cut glass. The afternoon light fades as evening approaches, casting dramatic shadows across the scene like a painting. Beth feels the smooth wood of the coffin beneath her palm, solid and real, unlike Lucas's lies. Sterling nods eagerly, desperate for any solution that saves the innocent employees who never knew about their boss's crimes. Mills gives Lucas exactly 30 seconds to decide between Beth's terms and facing the maximum penalty for every single charge. The federal auction will proceed unless he cooperates immediately, and his empire of lies crumbles as he realizes he has no leverage left whatsoever. His face shows the panic of a cornered animal with nowhere left to run or hide. 20 seconds to make your choice, Mills counts down relentlessly. "Beth, you're making a terrible mistake here," Lucas pleads desperately. 10 seconds to save what's left of innocent lives. "Fine, I accept your terms completely," he says, defeated. "Start talking about every hidden account right now. The Cayman account number is 774982. The camera captures his complete surrender as he provides account numbers and passwords to waiting agents. Beth watches without emotion as 30 years of planning reach their inevitable conclusion. She smells justice, mixed with the lingering scent of candle wax from the morning service.
Lucas's shoulders slump in final defeat as handcuffs click into place, the sound echoing through the cathedral like a closing door. 6 months later, Beth testifies at Lucas's sentencing hearing in a packed federal courtroom. She speaks clearly about the night he tried to drown her and the decades she spent gathering evidence of his countless crimes. The courtroom listens in complete silence as she recounts her survival and patient pursuit of justice through the legal system. He stole much more than money from his victims. He stole 30 years of my life and peace of mind, but he never managed to break my spirit completely. Today, justice finally wins over greed and corruption. The victims deserve to see him held accountable fully. His crimes destroyed families and shattered dreams across 3 states. The judge sentences Lucas to 25 years in federal prison without possibility of parole, bringing gasps from the gallery. Beth feels the weight of her scars and the strength they represent, proof of her survival and determination. She hears the gavel fall with finality that echoes through the courtroom like thunder. Lucas is led away without looking back, his power finally broken completely, his empire reduced to nothing but memories and court records. Beth walks out of the courthouse into bright afternoon sunlight, finally free from the shadow of her traumatic past. The employees of Grant Industries kept their jobs, the victims received full compensation, and justice was served completely. Sometimes the longest path to revenge leads to the sweetest victory and the most complete healing. Patience and truth always win in the end, eventually, even when the cost seems too high to pay. She drives away without looking back, her scarred hands steady on the wheel, heading towards a future free from Lucas Grant forever.